Olá pessoal, boa tarde. Vamos começar mais uma live agora. Hoje falando sobre direito e os estudos de direito na Bolívia. Obrigado a todo mundo que está assistindo. Obrigado, Cláudia, Isabelle. Hello!
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thanks for asking.
Okay, we are already here. We're finally here, you know. We were waiting
Good,
for this
good.
interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me in this project.
No, thank you so much for you because I'm so glad to be here. Uh, you know, um, Law is an amazing topic about in our lives, right? So I feel really glad to be here.
Oh, thank you. So just that I explained to you how it normally happens. So I'll be asking you some questions and then I'll translate it to Portuguese so more people can understand it, okay?
Okay.
Great. Então, pessoal, vamos começar mais essa live, né? Foi bem legal que a gente acabou de ter uma pequena conversa, né? Falando sobre direito ser uma parte importante da nossa vida. Então, estamos bem animados para estar conversando hoje com vocês. Well, so would you mind introducing yourself a little bit? I think that it would be good to know a little bit of your background and how you came into studying law.
Well, my name is Maite Riage. I'm from La Paz, Bolivia. I'm 23 years old. I was born here in La Paz. Well, I already finished my career, my law career at Católicas University, which is a private college here in La Paz. Well, studying laws for me is a very important part of my life, right? Decided to study this career. It inspired me to be better in many things into my life. That's why I decided to study law. A part of that, I really like to learn languages. The more that I can, the best. So French, and I already finished to study Aymara, which is a native language here from my country. So I had that. I like those things to do, right? Especially here in Bolivia, studying law it's a popular career, right? But nobody knows that this involves a lot of obligation, a lot of ethic and moral obligation, right? You know, studying law implies a lot of values that you have to follow in your career and also in your life. But nowadays
Mm-hmm.
that I finished my career like 2 months ago, I already
Oh,
start
good.
doing my postgrad about administrative laws and public administration.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and translate some of what you said. Então, a Maite acabou de se apresentar, né? Ela acabou de terminar o curso de Direito, fazem apenas 2 meses que ela está graduanda, né? So, congratulations on your graduation.
Thanks a lot.
E ela estava falando sobre como estudar Direito foi uma coisa importante para ela e que ela já está também estudando na pós-graduação, né? Estudando Administração Pública, Direito Público, e também comentou que ela entende que direito, então, tem muita relação com moral, com a ética, e que às vezes as pessoas não param para pensar nesse aspecto importante. Também falou que na Bolívia estudar direito é uma profissão, uma carreira bem popular, então tem muitos advogados, né, provavelmente parecido com o Brasil. Okay, good to know. You mentioned that it's a very popular career, and it just came to my head, you know, in Brazil we have a lot of lawyers, and there's lots of statistics saying that maybe we graduate, we have a lot of law graduates like every hour in Brazil because it's so many people who take this course. It's a very popular one. So what do you say about Bolivia? Would you say that there's just as many lawyers, like a lot of people take the course every year? How does that work? Like how many people were in your graduation class, for example?
Yeah, like I told you, this is a very popular career here in my country, right? For example, studying laws, you can walk like in the middle of the city, and you will see a lot of lawyers that they want to help you. But like I told you, studying law involves like to be the best and continue studying, right? So that's a little complicated here because everybody study law, but they finish it finish there. they didn't follow like postgrades and doing more and more things, right? But for example, seeing about the quantifiers of how many students study laws here in Bolivia, the public college here, which is the UMSA, every year when they open to do the entrance exams, it takes a lot of people to go there, right? There's almost more than 100 people that 100 people that they want to enter. That's why there are two ways to enter to the public college. But talking about the private school, like in my case, that I did at Católicas University, of course there are a lot of people too. But for example, I graduate with like 20 people in my course. We graduate this year from laws. So you can see the difference from a public and from a private school.
Ok, very good. Então, nas universidades públicas, né, eu acabei perguntando sobre a quantidade de pessoas que estudam direito, né? Então, na universidade pública tem muito mais gente que entra, muito mais gente que se forma, né? E aí a Maite comentou que na sala dela tinham mais ou menos 20 pessoas que se formaram, mas ela, falando sobre essa popularidade da carreira, né, de advogado, de estudar direito no país, ela também comentou que nas ruas tem advogados oferecendo ajuda, mas ela percebe um grande diferencial, porque para ser advogado ela entende que você tem que ser o melhor e tem que continuar estudando sempre, e esse não é o caso da maioria das pessoas. Well, so just to follow the kind of like the methodology of the questions I have been asking, is Bolivia a common law or a civil law country?
Well, that's a really complicated question to answer talking about my country, right? Because nowadays and since 2009, since they changed all about our constitution, they improve about the native jurisdiction. And this is more like a common law. But also we have the ordinary jurisdiction that is more that civil law. So here in Bolivia, I would like to say that we use both systems, because here also we don't have to forget that here in Bolivia since 2009, like I told you, we are talking about legal pluralism, talking about all the native and cultural and every of that the people that we imply here. So we have like I told you, like pluralism, talking about linguistic, cultural, and legal too. So I have to say that we use both, right? And we don't have to forget about the native jurisdiction.
Oh, great. That's quite interesting. Thanks a lot. Então, na Bolívia, né, ela entende que eles acabam usando tanto common law quanto civil law. É difícil definir especificamente, né, uma só dessas coisas, uma vez que eles têm vários tipos de jurisdição. E por conta do pluralismo que eles têm, né, falando sobre linguagem, sobre cultura, o direito entra nisso também, né? Então o direito também está relacionado a essa questão cultural e tudo mais. Então é interessante pensar sobre isso, né? E talvez até pensar sobre como que a gente no Brasil também acaba usando essa versão misturada, essa versão, né, que contempla todas essas modalidades, né? So, next question is about requirements for law school. Can you get straight out of high school and go into law school? How does that work?
Well, it's really interesting, right? Because when you finish the high school, you have to decide first which career do you want to study, right? And it's a difficult decision that you have to take in your life. But here in Bolivia, you could decide if you want to study into a public college or into a private college. Talking about the public college, you have two options if you want to study laws. First, taking the entrance exams, like an entrance exam that it costs like $50, but talking about Bolivianos, it's like 350 Bolivianos. But you only have to take one test. And in this test, it's about our constitution first, then history of Bolivia, and philosophy. Then that is the first option. But the other option is that if you want to take first like a pre-courses, but of course of law, and you also have to study constitution, history of Bolivia, and philosophy. But this course is like 3 months. So you can, you decide to take immediately the test, or you study 3 months and then you take the test. Of course, I'm talking about this in the public college, but in my case that I enter a private college, you only have to take a test, a simple test, but this test is about logic exercises. So, and a few of mathematics, but it's not important. You have to take it, but it doesn't matter if you approve or not, like in the public college, right? So you enter there, and it's like a normal test, but the most difficult test that everybody talks about is the public, talking about to enter to a public university.
Okay, I feel like the entrance into public universities here in Brazil is also harder than in the private ones, yeah. And I'll share with you how it works here. So straight out of high school, you can take the exams, but the exams do not ask you about law at all. They are all about the same things that you studied in high school. So they will be about chemistry, they'll be about geography, history, there'll be like all these different subjects. And the highest grades are the ones that get in. So for example, if we have 30 people who can get in, the people who with the highest grades will be the ones who will be getting in. But it's a more encompassing test, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the abilities that you have in law. It just reflects the abilities that you acquired in high school. So it's a bit of a different concept. Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and translate what you said as well. Ok. Então, na Bolívia, bem interessante, olha só. Na universidade pública, né, para você poder entrar, primeiro você tem que fazer um exame. Você tem duas opções, né? Você pode fazer um exame para entrar, né? Então, tipo um vestibular, que custa aproximadamente $50. E esse vestibular, né, essa prova, você vai ter que estudar e vai ter que passar sobre a Constituição da Bolívia, a história da Bolívia e filosofia. São os temas que você precisa estudar para poder passar nessa prova. Então vai ser uma prova que vai perguntar sobre esses temas, né? Ou também você pode fazer um pré-curso, né, sobre essas três áreas do conhecimento também, né? Então, Constituição da Bolívia, História e Filosofia. E aí você não precisa, depois você vai fazer a prova, né? Então você vai ficar aproximadamente 3 meses fazendo esse curso para depois fazer a prova. Então pode ou fazer o curso ou fazer a prova, né? No caso, para ficar mais claro, né? Então a prova seria já uma entrada direta, né? A outra é um processo mais longo, primeiro curso, depois prova, ok? Isso para a faculdade pública. Então, para a universidade particular, vai ter um exame de lógica, vai falar sobre matemática, e não depende tanto assim da sua nota, né? Ela falou que não importa tanto assim se você vai ser aprovado ou não, né? Independente da sua nota, geralmente todo mundo entra. Okay, very, very interesting. It's very nice. I kind of like how it directs a little better into the field that you're going in, because sometimes I feel like all the knowledge about chemistry and physics it's also very important. It's good to know a little about everything, but also I feel like some students will get disqualified for going into law school because they don't do well in chemistry or physics here in Brazil, while they could be very good lawyers and won't be using this, this calculus and all these things. So it's very interesting.
Yes, I think I never heard about how we'll be studying laws that in your country, Brazil, but I agree with you to consider also physics and chemistry like subjects that we have to know, right? But here in Bolivia, if you want to study, like I told you, you have to know, yes or just the constitution in every country is really important, right? History of Bolivia and philosophy. But, it's really necessary for me to know everything, right?
Very good, ok. Então eu estava falando um pouco sobre o vestibular aqui no Brasil, né? Que aqui no Brasil eu acho que às vezes alguns estudantes que não se dão tão bem nas matérias exatas, né? Talvez em química, em física, e não conseguem entrar na faculdade de Direito, talvez seriam ótimos advogados, né? E por conta de não conseguir entrar na universidade, talvez escolham outra carreira ou alguma coisa nesse sentido. Então foi apenas um comentário que eu fiz. E seguindo aqui, então, a próxima pergunta que a gente tem vai ser sobre quais classes ou quais aulas, disciplinas que são obrigatórias na Bolívia, ok? All right, so which classes are you required to take in law school? So what are the mandatory ones?
Well, I think that the mandatory ones, for me, I think that you have to know yes or yes, and we took these subjects at the beginning of studying law. Is general theory of the state that you really have to know. Then critical thinking it's really necessary, and Roman law. So this is the for example, while I study here my first semesters during the university. These three subjects are really important, right? Of course, you have to know administrative law, process, and everything, and constitutional law. That is a very important one, right? But I think that these 3 or 4 subjects that I told you are really important, even for a public or for a private colleague.
Okay, and you normally take those in the beginning of your schooling?
The first 3 that I told you, general theory of the states, critical thinking, and Roman law, yeah, they're one of the first subjects that you have to take years and years during the law, right? General theory of the states is, I think, is one of the important subjects that you have to know the other ones, right?
It makes sense, yeah, you're right. We also need to take this one as a mandatory one here. Então, eu pedi quais são as matérias obrigatórias, né? E aí ela mencionou 3. Então, pensamento crítico, teoria geral do Estado, direito romano são matérias obrigatórias para todo mundo no início da graduação, ok? Cláudia, muito obrigado pela sua pergunta, né? Já vamos chegar ali. Vou fazer mais algumas perguntas sobre a universidade e aí a gente já vai falar sobre os requisitos de admissão. Muito obrigado pela pergunta, hein? All right, and do you have any favorite classes that you took? Like, which one were your favorites?
Well, when I was studying the 5 years already finished, I think that my favorite subject, it was administrative law. I think that's why I really like it, because now I'm doing my postgrad about that, right? I really like it because, you know, administrative law is a branch of public laws, you know. You have to know every law about your country and see that studying all the activities that administrative agencies of the government do. For me, it's really important, and I really like to do this because I do my internship in the ombudsman here in my country, so I see how it works, everything, right? But I think and it was my favorite subject, and then I will say that constitutional law, it was my second favorite subject, and I would like to do my masterpiece about that.
Ok. Então, direito administrativo, né, é a matéria favorita dela, em segundo lugar, direito constitucional. E aí ela comentou que ela fez estágio também relacionado a essa questão de direito administrativo, né, dentro da área pública. Então, como ela pôde ver isso em primeiro ponto, também foi uma coisa que contou para que fosse a matéria favorita, né? All right, and do you have to take pro bono classes, you know, internships, clinic? Do you have anything that's mandatory during the law school, or is it all volunteer? You can do it if you want. If you don't want to do it, you don't need to. How does that work?
Well, first, talking about the public clinic, legal clinic is optional. Of course, here you may say, like I told you, that is the public clinic here. It have their legal clinic. It works. You can go there if you want. Of course, it's pro bono. You can go there. But if you are a student from the public clinic, but it's optional, right? The internship also in the public clinic is optional too, right? You can go work wherever you want. It's not obligatory, but there is a kind of different work and similar to the internship, that is the direct work. So you can work in an institution for like 6 or 8 months, I think. So this is a new way to graduate from the public college. But in my case, in the private college, legal clinic is obligatory. It's a subject that you have to do for 2 semesters, yes or yes. My university, Católica's University, has its own office. So it was like a legal clinic that you have to go yes or yes. But internship, of course, is volunteers too. You don't have you don't have to do it, right? If you want, it's optional. So that's the difference.
Ok, alright, understood. Então, o estágio não é obrigatório na faculdade pública e nem participar da clínica pro bono, né, que atende casos sem cobrar da população, mas na escola particular, onde a Maite estudou, então uma das matérias era essa legal clinic, então isso era obrigatório fazer. Né? Okay, so after you graduate in law school, what are the requirements to become a lawyer? Do you need to take a test? Do you need to, get admitted into the bar? How does that work to actually become a lawyer after you're just a law school student?
Well, in my personal opinion, unfortunately, you don't have to take any test if you want to work as a lawyer. You immediately graduate, you receive your diploma, and then you go to the Ministry of Justice, and you go to register to the RPA, which is a public registry of lawyers. So you go there, you receive your credential, and you immediately can work, right? We don't have to take that kind of test that you're talking about, the OAD and everything about that. You immediately have to you have to work. But in my personal opinion, I think that we need to test. We need to take a test, I think, right? Because it's really necessary.
Okay. That's quite interesting. It's very different from Brazil and also different from all the countries I have interviewed so far. So like every country I interviewed so far, they have a law test to get admitted. They have a bar or something like that. So that's very interesting. Então, essa é a primeira entrevista que eu faço, né, com a Bolívia, claro, primeira vez, mas é a primeira vez que eu entrevisto algum país que não tem algo que você tem que fazer depois de se formar em direito. Então, a partir do momento que você é graduando, você leva o seu certificado para uma corte local e faz um registro público de advogados, e aí, fazendo esse registro, você já pode se tornar um advogado, não precisa fazer prova da OAB, não precisa ter outros requisitos, né? Como alguns países que a gente viu nas semanas anteriores, né? Por exemplo, na África do Sul, onde você tinha que fazer depois de se formar em direito, você ainda tinha que fazer como se fosse um estágio obrigatório, mais um tempo, né? Depois de graduado. Então, bem diferente mesmo e interessante, né? Que a Bolívia não escolheu ter um exame de admissão aos advogados ou qualquer coisa nesse sentido, né? Um exame de ordem. Yes, that's super different, like here in Brazil, there were some cases that they were studying and some news that happened over the past few years when they said that maybe they wouldn't have the tests anymore, but the idea was like quickly vanished. So people are no longer discussing that because so many people graduate in law school every year, and I would say that the law school test it's hard. I wouldn't say it's easy because it has a lot of subjects into it, but you just need to get 50% of them right. So if you get 50% right, it means you know half of law, and that should be enough to become a lawyer. So it has two phases. On the first phase is the one that you do only questions saying like right, wrong, just assigning them. You don't need to actually write or draft. This is in the first phase. And then in the second phase, you actually need to draft a piece. So it shows that you actually know what you're doing, right? That you're ready to practice. So I think that also maybe it involves a lot of trust in the institutions. So maybe, maybe people in the government and, I don't know if there's like a National Lawyers Association, they really trust that the universities and the institutions will teach students so that they will be ready to be lawyers as soon as they graduate. And maybe that's a bit different from what is believed here in Brazil. So it's just very interesting to think about those things, right?
Yeah, it's really, really complicated, right? You have to trust, or if you want to, you want to consider to contract a lawyer right here. But like I told you, it's immediately here. But we don't have to, well, in my case, right, in my personal opinion, studying law here in Bolivia, and I think, and I've heard, and I see that, for example, my university and the public university, let's say UMSA, they have a good level teaching law. I
Mm-hmm.
saw, well, I study in a private school, right, in a private college, and I see they have a good level. They have a lot of recognition from other countries, my university. But also that I'm doing my postgrad on a public college, I can see also the other phase, right? Seeing how is
Mm-hmm.
maybe the quality studying on a public college, and it's really good. Maybe it's because they
Mm-hmm.
know that our law school here in Bolivia, our professors are really qualified to teach. But a part of that,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's really necessary to take a test after you finish your career, because there are subjects that you study on the first semester or maybe in the first year that you must not remember at the last year, right? So I think that it's
Yeah.
really necessary, right?
Ok, ok. And I agree with you, yeah. Então a Maite estava falando que na Bolívia, né, eu na verdade compartilhei sobre como que funcionam as provas da OAB aqui no Brasil, né, sobre a primeira e segunda fase da prova. E aí ela comentou que a graduação dela ela fez nessa escola privada, né, na Universidade Católica, e agora ela está estudando numa universidade pública para pós-graduação. E o que eu comentei, né, eu falei assim, bom, o governo e as associações elas devem realmente confiar muito que o nível da universidade é bom o suficiente para formar alunos que se tornam advogados sem necessitar de mais coisas, né? E aí foi sobre isso que a gente conversou, então, que realmente tem um nível bom de qualidade, é isso que é a opinião pessoal dela, né? Que a qualidade das instituições são boas, os professores são capacitados, então ela entende que nesse meio, né? Embora ela acredite que tem que ter uma universidade, né? Tem isso também. Então, acho que é algo bem interessante para a gente saber, né? Obrigado, Cláudia, pela sua pergunta. Eu vou perguntar aqui, então. So, Claudia, a good friend of mine from college, she has asked a question. And there is something called like the fourth power in the Constitution. And we were wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that. I know that this is like unplanned. So if you'd rather maybe send something later, I'd love to share with people who are following. But if you have something off the top of your head that you remember and you'd like to share, that would be great.
Well, talking about the like I said, the power of constitution, we like 1 year and 2 years ago. No, sorry, since 2009 we're talking about power, but here we talk about like um, it's not like power. We talk about like organo. How can I? It's like
Like
it's
Arden?
it's a
Arden?
yes.
Institution?
Talking
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't talk about power, right? Because we know that power it involves right something different. So we talk about like an
Mm-hmm.
organ, and the fourth organ here is the electoral one. So, but now we are having the elections, right? This in October it will be elections. So that's really interesting to have the fourth organ here. But here in Bolivia, we don't talk about power. We talk about organs because they think that
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the power to do more things, right? Because they are organs
Okay.
to have more structure
Mm-hmm.
here in our constitution.
Okay, understood. So here in Brazil, we would consider like the judicial branch, even I think that's how you say it in English, actually. So you have like the judicial branch, you have the legislative branch, and you have the executive branch. So you're saying that in Bolivia, it's the same three ones plus the
The same
electoral
three
branch?
ones, yeah, the
Uh-huh.
same three ones, but here we have the electoral ones. That is the fourth, right? That they
Okay.
imply here. They since changed our constitution since 2009. So we
Mm-hmm.
we
It's
we
very
improved the
recent.
fourth one. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
really recent, but it was more. uh, It's not like it's like more years before, but I think that that for Oregon, talking about the electoral,
Mm-hmm.
nowadays here in Bolivia, we're talking a lot about that because we will have elections this on October, and it's really complicated, right? To respect the independence of every organ, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they see that the executive has power over the electoral ones, but
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible that, right? So that's why it's really complicated, but that is our fourth organ.
Okay, that's very, very interesting because we are also going to have elections here in Brazil, and we only have this in the end of the year, and we only have the three branches. So it's just interesting to think about how would it be if there was another branch. Um, Forgive me if I'm wrong, people who are watching, and maybe if you know, you can correct me, but I believe that our electoral system is 100% administrated and managed by the judicial system, so much so that, for example, the regular city judge normally becomes the electoral judge when elections come about. Or at least that's what I'm pretty sure of, because I just got invited to work in the elections, and my letter was signed by the city's judge. So that's why I'm saying that. But yeah,
Well,
it's
here,
just interesting to think.
yes, here, like I told you, they try to respect the independence of every organ, even with the electoral
Hmm.
ones. So, talking about, for example, working, me too, I want to work on these elections, but the letter will sign the president of the organ, right? But
Hmm.
here in Bolivia, we have this problem, right? Talking about the last election, that it was even the last year, at the same in the same month, when the executive organ, it has like a power for the electoral, right?
Hmm.
It can shows that they didn't respect the independence of the organ, of the electoral organ here in Bolivia, right? So that is a
Hmm.
big problem. It's a really big trouble here in my country nowadays, because of course everyone wants to believe in the independence, right? But most of the
Hmm.
time, I'm the last president of my country try to involve and not do not respect that independence of the elections of the electoral organ, right? So that's was
Hmm.
really chaotic here in Bolivia, that nobody can understand that there is independence in every organ, like you said.
Okay, okay, I got it. I'll just go ahead and translate some of it, okay? Então, a Cláudia, né, obrigado pela sua pergunta. Perguntou como que funciona, então, esse quarto poder na Bolívia. E aí a gente foi revisando, tentando fazer um estudo comparado aqui do que acontece no Brasil, como que é a nossa situação. Aqui no Brasil a gente tem o poder legislativo, o poder executivo e o poder judiciário, né? Na Bolívia, além desses três, também tem um poder eleitoral separado, independente. E então o que a Maite estava explicando, né, que o grande problema que eles têm lá é entender essa independência que deve existir entre esses diferentes poderes, que acabam, né, às vezes, ela comentou ali que o presidente teve alguns problemas com isso, em entender que ele era um poder separado. Então, interessante pensar assim, nessas diferenças que podem acabar acontecendo. E não sei se vocês teriam mais alguma pergunta também para que eu possa perguntar sobre isso, mas de modo geral seria nesse sentido, né? Existem quatro poderes que são independentes, mas acaba gerando um pouco de caos e algumas situações complicadas. Esse quarto poder ser novo, né? E além disso também ser um pouco compreendido também. And well, while we wait to see if somebody else has any questions, I was wondering if you have any questions about Brazil and its law and college. And if you do, I'd love to try answering to the best of my ability.
Well, you know, seeing other students around the world that study law is really interesting. It's really important, right? For example, I would like to know which are the ways to graduate from a law school from Brazil, because here we have the thesis or the grade exams, but which are other maybe ways to graduate from school?
Okay, very good question. So here we have just a few requirements to graduate in law school, and I believe this is like countrywide. It's not only in my college, but I'll say specifically about my college experience. So here, to graduate law school, you need to take all the courses. So there is these mandatory courses, which you take 5 years to take them all normally. So you have about 5 classes every week in each semester, and then in the end of 5 years, you'll be ready. So this is how you graduate law school. You take all these all these courses over these 5 years. In the last 2 semesters, you need to make something like a thesis. So it's not as deep and as complicated as it would be for a master's or a doctoral thesis, but it's a final graduation work. So you need to be able to research a topic, or you need to go, it's a very academic related research, and that's what you do in the end of law school. So you need to take all the courses, you need to do this research project, you need to make this paper which you present to the professors also. And also, other than these 2 things, you also need to take this mandatory internship, which is pretty much a pro bono clinic, where we will learn how to draft pieces, and also where we will be able to talk with the community, and we'll be able to help solve their problems in a pro bono way without having any money for that. So for what I can bring from my memory right now, these are the 3 main things. But this only makes you a bachelor in law, so that's all. If you only take these requirements, you only are a bachelor in law. You're not a lawyer yet. To become a lawyer, you need to take the bar exam, the OAB, and that's what I mentioned before, that you have 2 phases. So this is how you graduate in law school here. We don't have like grad exams or something specific. So you only have the exams of each course, of each class you take, and then once you're done with that class, you don't need to make tests about it anymore for school.
Oh, that's really important, right? And interesting. And if in the case that I want to go to work like a lawyer, to Brazil, I have to take yes or yes the bar test?
Okay, that's a good question. If we have somebody who can help me here, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't remember if you need to be a Brazilian national or not to be a lawyer. I'll need to double check and let you know. I know that people from Portugal can be lawyers in Brazil because we have reciprocity agreement, and that allows us to be lawyers in Portugal and Portuguese to be lawyers in Brazil. But I'll get back to you on that. But I'm pretty sure that you need to do 2 things. You need to revalidate your certificate for school. So some university in Brazil needs to recognize and accept that you studied all that is necessary, and then you have a revalidated in Brazil certificate. And then you definitely need to take the bar test if you're allowed to. I'm not 100% sure, and I'll research and get back to you. And I'm sorry for not remembering that off the top of my head right now. So you can go ahead and say, and then after that I'll translate some of what we have been speaking about.
Yeah. For me, it's really interesting because I think we I don't know, as a lawyer, you have to go abroad, right? See how it works, everything out there, to complete your dreams.
Yeah, definitely. Então, a gente estava conversando até agora sobre... eu perguntei se ela tinha alguma pergunta sobre como que funciona ser advogado aqui no Brasil ou estudar direito aqui no Brasil. Então, a pergunta da Maite foi se nós, aqui no Brasil, temos... Como que se faz para se graduar na universidade, né? Quais que são os requisitos? E aí eu falei que para ser um bacharel em direito, né, nós temos que fazer todas as matérias, né, cumprir a carga horária da universidade, tem que fazer o seu TCC, né, a sua monografia no final do curso, né, então tem que ter esse trabalho de conclusão apresentado, e também aqui, pelo menos na minha universidade, tem que ter um núcleo de práticas jurídicas, né, que é parecido com um estágio, onde a gente vai aprender na prática como colocar, como fazer as peças, como atender o público, também vai ter essa oportunidade de interagir com a comunidade, né, então é um programa de extensão, pro bono, então envolve várias áreas diferentes. E ela me perguntou, então, se ela viesse para o Brasil sendo boliviana, se ela poderia ser uma advogada. E se alguém que estiver assistindo puder me ajudar, eu não me lembro agora se a gente pode, se qualquer nacionalidade pode se tornar um advogado no Brasil ou não, mas eu fiquei de dar essa resposta depois. Se alguém já souber e puder colocar aqui para mim, eu agradeço. Mas sem problemas também. Well, I think those were the main questions that I had. And thank you so much for your time. But I don't know. Do you have any specific things? It just came to my head. If you're not Bolivian, can a Brazilian, for example, be a lawyer in Bolivia? Do you know?
Well, I have the same doubt view, but I think that yes, but the first thing that I think that yes, of course, you have to, for example, if you're a lawyer, one of the requirements if you want to work as a public institution that I know more are presenting your paper, right? And I think that if you
Mm-hmm.
have a good CV and more than that, you can work as there. But I think that you have to be punctual about your papers, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like I told you at the beginning, here in Bolivia, we don't have to take any bar tests, right? So you're a lawyer
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
will be a lawyer here too.
Okay, understood. Então, my friend Isabelle just told me that you just need to revalidate your diploma and do the bar tests. So thank you so much, Isa, for your help and also for being here watching. Thank you very, very much. Então, para ser um advogado de outro país aqui no Brasil, a princípio você só precisa revalidar o diploma e fazer a prova da OAB também. Muito obrigado, Isabelle, por me ajudar. Well, I think that we are, walking towards the end of this live today. And once again, thank you so much for your time, for your willingness to help me out with this project. And maybe to finish it up, would you have some motivation words or something like that for people who are thinking about studying law or people who are, wanting to have a career related to the legal field? Do you think it's worth it? How can you develop love for it? So if you want to share something like that, that would be great.
Well, I think that studying law is not a simple career, right? No, many subjects, as you know. I think that study law is to decide a new way to live, right? A new way to see life through values, through ethical and moral values that you have to follow. I think that have the responsibility to be a lawyer is really high in any place, in any country. Be a lawyer is really important, right? Because you are doing something for other, and doing something for other is really complicated and it really involves a lot of responsibility. So I really invite all people who are here on the Instagram live, if they want to study law or if they are lawyers now, go ahead and study more, because as you know, if you are a lawyer, you never stop studying, you never stop reading, because every day there are new things and you have to know everything, not about law, even you have to know about any career, you have to know even mathematics. It's really necessary in when you are maybe in a stage of your career, you have to know it, right? But I really think that studying law changed my life personally. It really helps me and open a lot of ways to be a better person, right? Because
Okay.
it teaches you how to be punctual, responsible, and everything. So it's really important for me.
Oh, thank you so much. Então eu pedi se ela poderia compartilhar umas últimas palavras, né, para se despedir dessa live, né? Então ela começou falando que estudar direito não é fácil, né? E que você precisa estar disposto a ver a vida por novas lentes, né? Da ética, da moral, dos valores. Então eu achei muito legal isso. E também deixou um lembrete, talvez um aviso, né? Que como profissional do direito a gente sempre vai estar estudando, sempre vai estar tendo que ler alguma coisa nova, porque sempre tem coisa saindo, né? E precisa ser um profissional atualizado, precisa estar sabendo sobre várias áreas diferentes para poder atuar de forma melhor no direito, né? E seria isso que a gente gostaria de compartilhar hoje, né? Essas perguntas. Obrigado mais uma vez para todo mundo que tirou um tempo no domingo para assistir. E, por favor, fiquem à vontade para mandar outras perguntas depois. Eu compartilho com a Maitê, caso vocês tenham. E gostaria de desejar para todo mundo, né, um bom feriado amanhã, né, Dia da Independência do Brasil. Então, que possamos todos ter um bom feriado também, né, um bom dia para descansar e finalizar os projetos também. So thank you so much, Maite, once again. Thank you for your willingness. Thank you for your help and for sharing some of your knowledge with us today. I hope that we can continually keep in touch and that we can help each other's career as well and keep this network alive. So thank you so much and hope you have a great day.
No, thanks you a lot. I'm still so glad to be here. As other countries like Croatia, Nigeria, and all the countries, I really feel glad to be here. And of course, we can keep in touch because, you know, we have the same interest in about law and everything about that. And congratulations for Independence Day here that in Brazil. Thanks a lot.
Gracias.